Today's going to be a follow-along press handstand for all levels. So I'm going to cover people that are still using the wall, people that are freestanding, and then people that already have a press handstand. I'm going to show some spicy, harder variations. Now I'm assuming you've already done a general handstand warm-up, so get your body ready to handstand, whether that's kicking up to the wall or kicking up to freestanding. I'm not going to cover too much flexibility. I have a separate video on press handstand flexibility. This is just more going to be the actual handstand drills and a little bit of active work. So talking of active work, let's just start off with some easy inchworms. So just into a forward fold position. I have feet about shoulder width apart. I'm walking out to a push-up position. So here we're trying to make sure that abs are on. I'm not starting to sink or sag in any way. And then I'm going to have straight arms, straight legs. I'm going to walk as close as I can to my hands. Now I'm pretty flexible there, so I can make it a little bit harder. So I'm going to bring the elbows down towards the floor for a few seconds and then walk back out again. Now if you're tight, it just means that you won't walk in quite so far. So I might get to here, that's fine. Try and keep those knees locked backwards. Try and keep the heels down as you come in closer. But the most important thing is palms pushed into the floor. Walk back out, back in again. So do 10 repetitions of those. You should notice that as the reps go on, you get closer and closer towards your torso or towards your legs, so they meet each other. Once you've done your 10 reps, have a little rest, and then we're just going to go into that start of the press position. So this one's a bit of an assessment as well as a drill. So I'm going to transfer weight back into my heels. I'm sticking my hips backwards. I'm closing my hips. I have handstand hands, so index finger forward, spread the other fingers. I come down, tippy toes, push the weight forwards and up. So I'm sticking the weight up in that direction, trying to get as much weight into the hands and shoulders and decrease as much weight as I can out of the feet. I'm trying to get up onto the tip of the tiptoe so it gets the hip up as high as possible. Now, if you're not so flexible, you're going to have a little bit more of a distance between the hands and the feet. If you're very flexible and you feel strong with this, just see if you can hover the toes just off the floor. So that one's also a great assessment. So we want to make sure that the hip is as close to being on top of the hands as possible. If you're miles away from that, we need to work on conditioning of the shoulder and the positioning so you're happier to put more weight into the hands, but also obviously forward fold hip flexibility. And we want to be doing things like straddle good mornings, both seated and standing, Jefferson curl, and general hamstring forward fold positioning. So next, have a little bit of fun with some momentum. So doing the same thing, but I'm now going to go into a little bit of a jump. So same thing, up energy in that direction. I could bend the knees a little bit, but I'm just trying to prep the body. So I'm just prepping the body there to transfer all of the weight from the feet into the hands and shoulders. Okay, next we need to get our straddle handstand in position. So what I'm going to do, if I've got a freestanding, I'm going to kick up to handstand. And then from there, I'm going to open into my straddle position nice and wide, find that comfortable position. And I'm going to accumulate 30 seconds in that position. So try and make a solid straddle position that's comfortable. If you can't do that freestanding, we'll do it up against the wall. So wall version is exactly the same. I'm going to kick up, put my heels against the wall, then I'm going to open into straddle and put the butt against the wall. I'm going to try and keep my shoulders on top of my hands. So open to straddle position, shoulders are on top of hands. Now if you're in between the two, I could heel pull, so pushing the fingertips into the floor till my butt comes off. And I can hold there, or I can hold lightly with butt touching the wall. So again, aiming to get that 30 seconds time under tension there. Okay, next we're going to start working on this open and closing of the shoulder, because as we press to handstand, the shoulders will be closed, and then as I come up, my shoulders need to open. So we need to work on that open and closing of the shoulder. Now the easier version is against the wall. Now the further I take my hands away from the wall, the harder it is. And then I'm going to show a freestanding version as well. So the wall version is this. I'm going to turn the hands out to make it a little bit easier on the wrists. I'm going to take the shoulder to the wall and then back off again. Just make sure that you reset into that open position and you don't just stick the butt backwards. So open and closing, aiming to get 10 repetitions. I'm trying to push the whole time as well. So if it's hard, go closer to the wall. If it's easy, go a little bit further away. Freestanding version is exactly the same. But now when I'm in the handstand, so straight handstand, I'm going to try close the shoulder, open the shoulder, close the shoulder, open the shoulder. And again, see if you can accumulate 10 repetitions. So let's get ourselves ready now for the eccentric presses. So I'm going to go through exactly the same movement but on the floor. So I'm going to lay down like I'm in a handstand, so straight body position. So there's my handstand, and then I'm going to do an eccentric. So I'm going to open the legs into my straddle. I'm going to push the low back into the floor as my butt comes off. So butt is off, low back is on the floor. Now low back is off, mid back is on the floor. Now upper back is on the floor, mid back is off, and then I finish in that start of the handstand press position. So tippy toes would be on the floor, and then I come back again. Try and articulate through those same positions again. So mid back, low back, butt, open through straddle, back to straight. So the goal with that one is to have the feet as close to the floor as possible. Now if you're lacking the ability to be able to get up, you could put a little mat or something underneath your butt that helps turn you over. Or you might be struggling from a mobility point of view, that way we can bend the knees a little bit as we come up. Same on the way down. So aim to get about 5 repetitions there. It's more about the quality of the movement though. Now we have 3 different levels of eccentric. So the eccentric is when we start in the handstand, we're going to pass through straddle, pass through the eccentric press, finish on tiptoes on the floor. So it looks like this. So starting my straight handstand, open to straddle, start to roll down through the back, mid back, upper back, and then the goal was to finish tippy toes just on the floor. Okay, now I'm going to show the easier version using the wall, and then I'm going to show a harder version using the wall and a different variation. So again, eccentric only, so I'm going to kick up. I've kissed the wall with the heels. Now I'm going to open into my straddle position, butt touching. Low back is not on the wall, feet are not on the wall. Now I'm going to try and get low back, so I'll start to turn the hip over, low back's on the wall, mid back, upper back, and then I come down, finish tiptoes, and then come back out. So even when I pause on those tiptoes, I'm still trying to have as much weight this direction as I can. Now I can fine tune that by the distance my hands are away from the wall. Just make sure you don't collapse between the hands and the wall. If you don't quite have the mobility, we might need to bend the knees on the way down. So I'm going to be a little bit further away from the wall. Make sure you turn the hands out so it's okay on the wrists. Now I'm going to put back against the wall first, and now come down, bend knees, push low back against the wall, mid back, upper back, find the floor, and then come away. So that's easier again, both mobility and control, because I'm already laying against the wall. Now a slightly harder version that demands more flexibility is chest to wall, and I'm going to start to compress myself between my shoulders and my hands and the wall. So you can make this one real tricky, and it's really good for those that have a press but that want to make it a little bit more stacked, less planchy. So I test it first, slide the feet down. So that was pretty comfortable for me, so I can move my hands closer to the wall. Again, finishing with all the weight in the hands and shoulders, and you can really force that flexibility by going closer and closer. Just don't start too close that the wall pushes you off and you back splat. So now we're actually going to do the concentric or the going up movement. Now some of you will need to do partial range here, so I'm going to demonstrate partial range. Some of you might be able to just get it off the floor. Another way of doing this is to use a little bit of momentum. And for those of you that already have the press, we can start to go from a deficit. So you're actually making your hands higher and your feet lower. So partial range could be quite high. I could use boxes this type of height. Now if I'm going to do that, you have to think about how wide your feet will be apart on the path of the press. Because my feet are nearly halfway up, my feet are going to be quite wide. If my height I was using was smaller, my feet are going to be closer together. So I put my feet up on the box, I walk my hands in, find that point where I can just lift off, finish into a handstand, and then ideally I'm coming back down again. And then I could do repetitions there. If I'm hitting 5, 6 repetitions in a row, I know that I can then try and go lower. If I'm worried about back splatting, I can do this same setup, move it close to the wall and have back to wall, and then just press up to the wall and back down again. Just be careful you don't fall down onto the box. Now something like these yoga blocks work really well, these cork yoga blocks, because you can fine tune the height. So I can just keep taking those away or add them as needed. Now if we're close to getting the press, we could use the momentum. So momentum is just where I'm going to rock the weight from my feet to my hands. That can get people over the line on just having a tiny little bit of lift underneath the feet, or even on an incline, so somewhere there's got a slight slope with the feet a little bit higher than the hands. Now, more advanced option if the press is easy, so if this is comfortable, we could either do repetitions or I could start to increase the height of the hands. Still trying to kiss the toes on the floor. So hopefully that's helped to give you some ideas, some drills to fill the gaps in your press handstand, even if you have one, or if you're working against the wall, or if you're freestanding. Let me know down in the comments if you have any questions. I'm going to be continuing with these tutorials, training vlogs. I'm going to do some Q&As and some video critiques. So make sure you subscribe to keep in the loop for those. Thumbs up and subscribe would be appreciated, and I'll speak to you next time. Thanks, guys.